I just saw in the chat, Daryl said he's having trouble signing in, but he'll be here shortly.
Oh, thank you.
So just wondering, because I put it in the chat and maybe people here can help me understand before Daryl shows up. Um, for the implementations of a trust registry, you need to have a list of actions allowed in the ecosystem, right?
Well, I'm not sure. We'll see what Daryl says, but I do think yes, in terms of uh, uh, operational, but not technically. So if you're, so if we think of like a PKI system, right?
Yeah.
And you're a certification authority, right? Yes, you need to have agreement within the ecosystem about, who am I going to add to the trust list and why. But technically, there's nothing. It's a governance question.
Yeah. Because the action would be like sign verifiable credentials, right? That's an example of an action.
Right.
So what if one ecosystem calls it sign verifiable credentials and the other ecosystem calls it sign VCs and another one calls it sign underscore verifiable underscore VCs or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, has anyone published the list of their actions as a vocabulary that other people could build upon?
Right. So I believe in the PKI world, yes, there's a standard for that. Yes, yeah, there's a standard for that. And even in that PKI world, having worked a bit, like we have in the US our PIV credentials, right? There, we have a federal bridge that says who can, so you could have various certification authorities out there providing a service, but the federal bridge and these PKI standards govern what those commands are, what those service requests look like. And then it's more of the governance of like, so for PIV card, they say those certificates have to be good for 3 years. Well, that's a policy question that can be technically implemented with end dates and expiry dates. The TWIC card uses the same standards, but they don't want people to have to come in every 3 years. Let's make it 5 years for their certificate duration, right?
Right.
And so that's a governance thing implemented in technology. It's 5 years versus 3 years, but right. So there's technical bits like you're asking. Yeah, there's a certain there's certain PKI standards that that cover how those authorities operate, and even how, in the case of smart cards, how to program those, what how to provision those certificates within a smart card. Yeah, so there's a lot out there for that.
Okay, yeah. Just wondering if Drummond, maybe we can talk about this at another point, but concepts and terminology, maybe there's a role. I've been looking at section 5.3 of the trust registry specification where it calls upon action, and I was like, oh, do we have a library of potential actions that people could adopt into their governance frameworks, to get people into best practices?
That's where we're starting to work. Yes, Carly.
Okay,
that's critically important. The difficulty is we can't, my view, we can't wait for the specification for that list to be hard.
Yep.
Because we'll be here for 3 or 4 years and never come to an answer.
Yep.
But we need guidance to provide people.
Yep.
I think it ends up becoming its own thing as well.
Yeah. That's okay. That's similar to what I'm coming across in like ODRL world, that you're needing to develop a vocabulary that people can use the technology in order to say to bridge between technology and governance. Thank you.
Hey, admin question. Is anybody else having trouble using LFX on multiple devices? The reason I ask is I have one computer I can access now, and I've an iPhone, an iPad, and another computer. I cannot get into the freaking Zoom unless I use that one computer and then transfer. Anyone else
What?
seeing this?
No,
Yeah.
I haven't at all. I move well, Zoom. I think LFX Zoom calls are just Zoom calls. They're just the
No, you
scheduling.
see, it's that LFX place where you sign in sometimes.
Oh, that part.
It's interrupting. It's just white. Like I'm like, I know what I'm doing here.
Wow.
Could just be a Daryl problem or just a
I-
travel problem.
Yeah, it's true. I find it can be particularly on the iPad. It can be a little the trustworthy calendar. I always launch from the calendar, and it can be a little funky how it shows up. But once I get to show up, I just hit the link and it opens. It also, you have to be logged into whatever you use, you know, to like I use GitHub, and then so you have to make sure that those devices have the cookies for GitHub. Anyway, that's all I can say is I know it works. Wikipedia has
You want to take us away, Drummond, and leave the beginning of the call? I'm making a coffee that I wasn't able to make because of my Zoom fun.
Okay, sure. I know you just got back, Daryl, and I don't even see Andrew at all here today. So I just got back myself from 2.5 weeks in Europe. But one thing I got done over that was when Daryl and Andor got the PRs processed to update the spec with the park revision. I just said, hey, I'm happy to review it. And I did, but I wasn't reviewing it with like, okay, I'm ready to go into a PR and make editorial I did spot a number of what I just call editorial suggestions. I had done a write-up of how it might be, the park stuff might be done, and Daryl and/or wisely shortened it and rewrote it to take not as much text as I did. But I do have some suggestions around that, so I'm happy to just go over those quickly if that's a good thing for the agenda, Daryl. I actually haven't looked at the agenda. I don't know, did you create an agenda for today's call? Oh, he's getting coffee. I will just give me a second to find that page and we can just look it over. Okay, let's go to the right window here. I think it's this one right here. Yes, and let me make sure it is the current version. Okay. All right. I'll share my screen. There we go. And now let me, it is such a, oh, realize, I think I need that there. I can make this window a little bit smaller and make it a little easier to read. Is this showing? No?
Yes, it's showing. Yep.
Good. Okay. This no. Sorry, I'm just moving around the other windows that you have to have if you want to be able to see that and the chat at the same time. All right. Oh, I can see what happened with Daryl. He sent a note that his Wi-Fi just went down. Well, all right. So,
how can you send that note if it went?
I'm on cell now.
Oh,
on cell. That's what it was.
I'm having a tech day, folks.
Well, I mean, what time did you get back?
We get home around 10 p.m. So it's not too bad. It's just whatever's going on. I'm in the house, hasn't seen me in a while.
Yeah. Gotcha. All right. Yeah. Daryl, the invader. Okay, so I'm just gonna, you know, I'm not gonna spend time on any part of the spec that's still the same from before. I note the introduction, we did, in the rewrite, we simplified it, just down to authorization recognition queries, and so that got shorter. Okay, now I have to remember where I saw. I think all this is good. I can't remember if there were any. Oh, this is just a, obviously I'll catch that when I give my PR, but I think we're just missing a tag on that one. Yep, I don't think that was it there. And then this section is also now much shorter and sweeter, and I don't think I had anything there. Okay. So let's see. Oh, this one is pretty straightforward. I had a section on the park model that came before or at the start of high level architecture, and Daryl, you and/or moved it down here to the end. It's much shorter, and I'm going to actually just click on that, go right down there. My suggestion is going to be actually just to put this back at the start of that section to explain, hey, this set of let's see, where is it? Yeah, okay. Anyway, it felt like at the end it was sort of an afterthought when in fact it informs a lot of what ends up getting talked about in these sections. So I just like to propose to move it back near the start of this.
Sounds like a great PR.
Yeah. Again, I'm going to do all this. This is PR. This is all going to be in GitHub now, so not a problem. If everything's close enough, it should be fairly straightforward. Okay. So I think that was the only thing in that section. I think it's looking good. Okay. Identifiers. Now I have to remember. Yeah, this is all good. We have authority ID. Oh, okay. Yep. No, that's good. Entity ID, action and resource, and context. Okay. Now this was the part that I got confused on. Okay. So in the park model, the context, with the park model, this would be the principal. I'm going down. The entity ID would be the principal. The A is action, R is resource, and C is context. And what we're saying, and we can say in that up front, is that we have a required context, which is the authority ID. So basically, the context object ends up being what else you might need to have context on. So a context object is optional because what's required is authority ID. So again, I just want to make sure that's clear. And then it says, if a context object includes a time value, this is just a literal thing. You have includes a time value : a time-based condition. What were you trying to say there?
That the context object, if you look at the schema, so scroll down time, elsewhere, what we know that there is in the context object a time object that has a particular purpose, meaning I'm querying at this time. As opposed to someone putting time of query, time Bubba, time whatever, we've actually got one parameter in there codified because it needs definition. It is an optional parameter though, because if I don't provide it, it's now.
Right. Okay. So I now remember the confusing part. I'm going to read this to you.
Cool.
Context. Further refinement of the context is possible using an optional context parameter. And then it says, other than this required parameter in a TREQP query. I'm like, wait a minute. We just said it's an optional context parameter, and then it says other than this required parameter. What?
Yeah, that's wrong.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So
it's a completely optional object.
Okay. So I will update this, just say using an optional parameter, context parameter. And that is exactly what this says. So, and I think the rest of it is now clear, which you're saying, if you include it, it must be a JSON object. whose members convey other conditions. And one of those conditions, if it includes a time value, I think what you are missing here is the word expressing a time-based condition, then it must meet these two things, right?
Yep. That's
Yeah,
good.
okay, all right, that's clear. That's what I needed to, all right. So that's pretty easy fix there. Now, the last sort of editorial feedback here is you pop straight into the APIs, but there's no like, and this may just be my ignorance about APIs. How are these? I mean, these are these examples here, or are these definitions of the APIs?
That is the schema definition of the authorization request that is sent to the server.
All right. Okay.
So the difficulty is we are not actually providing APIs. We're providing, this is the authorization request structure.
Okay. So this is, so I think what you just said is really just what we need to say here, which is, you see what I'm saying? Is just go an API,
totally.
but it's really, yeah, it's the.
This is why you're a great editor.
Well, it's why Fresh Eyes is sort of, and all that does is apply, you know, because the examples and the definitions are quite clear as I was reading through them. It's just that text right there. All right, and that's easy. Okay, I'm trying to remember the last. I think the very last thing, if we do that in those sections was, okay, this one's yeah. Okay, so now we're saying so above. Would you say these are you've got authorization API? Is that the right? Are those the right titles for those things, or are they?
No.
Okay.
API is it's a problematic term. Maybe authorization requests, or authorization query, recognition query.
Yes, I like those a lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Since we got query in the name of the protocol. Hey.
Exactly. Okay, that would make those, and then the HTTPS binding makes a lot of sense because now you're coming down. Now, this I'm pointing over now at the just the outline. You've got the binding, and then you've got recognition over HTTPS. Oh, I see. That's okay. No, that makes sense. I usually, you know, as an editor, I just look at anytime you've got a single subsection, it's like, is that really needed? But that's an easy thing. We can look at that.
Well, that's a good question. Maybe it should be comma request, and then instead of 9, it could be 8.2. Knock it down underneath HTTPS binding.
Yes, I would do it because you've got recognition. Oh, and that was the other one. This again, just easy for fresh eyes. The order up here is recognition, is authorization, then recognition.
Yep, it's out of
down
order.
here, it's recognition, authorization. Which do you? I mean, because you could argue for either one of these. Which do you think is more natural?
Authorization, then recognition.
Okay.
The reason I say that is one, it's alphabetical. Two, most folks that we're talking to are concerned about the authorization. Recognition is about creating the web, which is absolutely critical, but it's very much a second order thing.
Yep, understood. So I just then the suggestion is if we knock these down, we just put them in the same order down here. All right, that's very good. Then in that case, the very last thing is really easy. We got these. I think these sections all look good, but we need our references section, which is always a pain in the ass, but
right. So okay. I'll note that as a GitHub issue.
Yeah.
That's more than just a PR, right?
Well, I'd say it's a separate PR. The thing is, okay. So my last question is just one of you know, sort of formatting and everything. Is this spec up T enabled yet or not?
No. Sorry. Yes and no. The old spec up code base that has been updated in probably a year is in there.
Okay.
There are occasional uses of defref, but no, it's largely speaking not spec up T-ified. whatever you
Got
want to
it.
call that, which
I
we have noted as a GitHub task. And I also, in the task, just so you note, I put in a note in the task saying that this is not necessarily a fundamental change, meaning we can go to public review, I believe, without it.
Oh, yes, I
Because
think
it's
that's true.
cosmetic. It's more than cosmetic. Don't get the wrong term, but it doesn't substantively change
No,
the
no, it
spec
doesn't.
itself.
I would agree. I have good news for you. Hank Von Conn and his team have been, even though he stepped down as a co-chair of the concept terminology working group, he's actually been doing more work on Spec Up T. And he showed us, Carly and I, what he's going to be presenting next week. But it's
Cool.
the symposium helped push along, and he now is integrating. He's integrated. I don't know. I can't remember, Carly. It's something like 9 glossaries between the Trusted IP ones and the Carry ones. And so they're really good now at like, okay, we can upgrade. He literally was asking, are there any specs or projects?
Repos to play with?
Yes. Well, it's
Yes.
not so much play. It really isn't playing now. It's just provisioning, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
If he can help on that, Drummond, because you know there's a lot of references in it, and it is by no means it's important work. It's just something I don't know when I'll ever have time to do it.
I know, and I feel some obligation, not just as a, member of this task force and an editor here, but doing that to say, hey, I, I'm willing to put in some of the work and even help recruit others from concept terminology, although there are just a few of us there to help. I would like this spec. If Hank and his team does the Spec Up T update, then everything else just comes down to us putting in the markup, and I'm
Yeah.
willing to do that. I suggest there are 3 PRs that would be needed. One would just address the editorial things we just discussed. Pretty straightforward. I might want to start work on that, but then get a live session with you, Daryl, at some
Yep.
point to make sure that's all synced. The second one would just be the Spec Up T update that Hank could do, and then and then the third one is the references. Now, the reason I brought up Spec Up T is Spec Up T does have tags, or it enhances the tags for references. So I would suggest doing that and then doing the reference section, and then
Right.
then we'd be done. Then we'd be done. And of course,
Cool.
everyone's going, and how soon can we do that? And the answer is, right now, this Trust RP symposium that we so wonderfully said was way out there. I've got a ton of work now to get everything ready for that. I would love for this to be one of those things. Here's what I'd like to suggest. I think we get the editorial stuff done fairly quickly, by the end of the weekend, and then I can ping Hank. I don't know how much pressure he's under to finish his stuff. But they would separately then do the Spec Up T thing, and then we could add the references. Whether we could get it all done by the symposium, not sure, but if we don't have a reference section, I don't think that slows anything down. I assume,
Cool.
Daryl, you're gonna have some portion of your talk, talk about this or point at this.
Yep. Oh yeah, definitely point at this and point out that we're going to public review 02. No,
Cool.
The order of operations you've indicated, because of the lack of references, means that we do have to wait for the Spec Up T or do it manually. We can still do you can still do the Spec Up work, Drummond, in references in your PR.
True.
It's there. Like we already have that capability built in.
That's true.
So you could do that all in one PR. I'm just
trying to get it.
I don't want to have something in a critical path that's not actually in a critical path. So if you could do that, you and I could knock that out, push that in. Because what I want to be able to do on the next Wednesday is just speak to where we are. Why did we create Trust Registry Query Protocol? What does it do? What does it not do? Which is actually a much longer list. Where are we with PR02? Where are we with the story of, why are there 2 different things? What's the difference between authorization, recognition? And then split over to and here's a working example of what we're doing at IRA. But being able to speak to public review 02 is really, really key. be able to say that it is in final stages of editorial. So if you and I could knock that out, that'd be awesome.
I want to go one step further and propose that we do that. So if I give Hank a heads up, which I can do here, like right away, and he could commit to having his team, they've done it enough times. I think it's like, hopefully it's like a 30-minute job for them to come in and just do the update to the current spec up T code base. If he can do that, next week, then we can make sure everything's marked up. What I'm proposing is if we can put out public review before the end of the month, 2.0, right?
Yep.
Then we should be able to approve that, hold the public review during December. Great. It's a perfect,
Yep.
so plenty enough time. First week of January, we incorporate any feedback, and it's a full 2.0. We are calling it 2.0, right?
Yep. Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Now that you and I have been obviously this is fairly normal, but we've been kind of dominating the conversation here. What do other folks think about that timeline? Does it concern anybody? Because we are trying to, like anything, push it out the door.
The earlier, the better.
Thank you.
Let's
I
get
love
it
you,
out.
man.
Let's get it out. Let's get it reviewed. Let's get it out in the public space so people are aware that we're actually doing something about this.
Yep.
Because
it is.
If we're not, other people will be cracking at it.
Yep.
Well, I get news for you on this trip, including yesterday, even after I got back, where I had a chance for the first time to really have a longer catch up with Fabrice. There are several folks out there, either in IRA or adjacent to IRA, but I would say the IRA, implementation or universe, what Affinity is doing and what Verana is doing. That's what I got briefed on by Fabrice. 100% is committed to this spec, this protocol, right? So it's that classic thing of, it's just that low curve until suddenly whoop, right? And I'm not saying we're, but what Fabrice and I were like, 2026, we're actually going to have a number of registries out there that are doing the recognition thing, right? This network's going to start to happen, and that's even before we've gotten to the demand that's going to be coming because of the AI agent stuff. So yeah.
And the other thing is I'd like to get this in front of COG, because we are now putting together some kind of conformance mandates regarding the use of external trust registries. We have at least one is done, that's the press, and that's obviously not conformant. They don't even know what we're doing. But we have another one in the music industry that is percolating. And so and I'm sure I'll speak for Eric here, that we absolutely want to consider what this is and potentially integrate that into the COG spec.
Yep.
And we're right at the point where we're discussing it. So I need air cover. I need this out so that we can say we are considering it.
Excellent.
Yeah. So folks that haven't already been talking, especially Drummond, Scott, and myself, now's the time to kind of voice any concerns if you do feel we are rushing this through, which like anything, I don't think we're rushing it through anything. We're just getting to that point where we have a deadline, we have a forcing function, we can get it out the door. But the community is screaming for this in many ways.
Yes.
So yeah, I see John and Dan.
Yeah, the other thing that I would like to introduce, and I'll give you I also, so not trust over IP. So C2PA, I'm getting all my acronyms conflated, but my colleague at C2PA created what we consider now the Conformance Explorer. And I'll put it in the chat. And what it is a human readable way to review trust registries. So I do think that it's up, and I think this is, I mean, this, he used a couple of, I think, Google tools, and he did it in his garage. Brilliant guy. But we need this thing out there as well. Obviously, the protocol and all the focus around trust registries focuses on machine readable protocols and such. But at the end of the day, we want trust registries to be used. And if they cannot be reviewed by humans, then that's a problem. So, I mean, I can share my screen and just show you what it looks like.
Oh, you did.
Okay.
Didn't you?
Well,
I just
no,
sorry, I jumped in. Let me stop share.
I sent the link in the chat.
Oh, actually, if you don't mind, I'll do that then, because I wanted to show another one. That was right. That's what I was seeing here.
Okay, yeah, there it is. Okay.
So this is a great example. Part of the, as I was mentioning, one of the things I'll be discussing is, what does the Trust Registry Query Protocol do, and what does it not do? This is one of the things that the protocol itself does not do, but it makes absolutely, totally possible and easy to do, which is really, really, really important, because we don't want to have to build this type of tooling, this kind of visual look, when basically the registries are doing the data behind. Well, this is fantastic, Scott, because now you're seeing
open source, so I could get, I could know where the code is.
Yep.
I mean,
but here's another example. So if you're familiar with Fides out of the Netherlands, they did some work, and this is more, you can't just browse because there's literally thousands and thousands. This is a corporate registry out of the Netherlands. But what they're able to do is, I just searched for Unified Post and found it. They're able to pull up Unified Post, which actually the company name has now changed and whatnot. So this is a demo, but they're also able to pull up all of the credentials that that group holds, which sounds and looks very similar to, the details you have on the Pixel Studio type of thing. It's just fantastic. This is what should be possible because the TRQP is there, right? The TRQP doesn't do this, but it makes this relatively easy to do discovery and explorer/browse capability. This is fantastic.
Totally. It's funny, but it brings back and don't, I'm going to duck when I say this. It gives new meaning to the way overused term web of trust, because you start having more web-like capabilities, like, you can search, you can browse, you can you can see these trust relationships, and and there's no question in my mind, the more visibility there is, the more successful we're all going to be.
Yeah. So which raises the question. So I've raised the reason I was asking the question a couple of times of, does it feel like we're ramming this through, is this is just the natural state of just how you push things out the door, really. But the goals that Drummond just indicated imply the following. So the two goals of Drummond making editorial recommendations, which are, I would say they're not substantively changing the tech spec, but they're critically important for the spec itself, meaning ordering and labeling of the headings, adding of references, all that type of stuff. Very, very critical work to when we push out a PR02. The second item being, if we can get the time in from Hank and team for the spec up work, which again, I don't think is as critical on a timeline basis, Drummond, because that's something we can do separately. It changes cosmetically. It doesn't change substantively the content. But to push that through and be able to point at it, that may mean that we may put something in Discord to say, please take a look at the PR, give it 2 days to review, as opposed to waiting for next Thursday's meeting. If anyone has any concerns, raise that here, raise it in Discord, bring it up one-on-one with. I guess I'm the only chair here right now, Drummond. You're not officially a chair, right?
That's right.
Or what you are of the tech stack. Just raise it up for us with us. I will, though, tilt the scale. and reiterate what Scott has pointed out. The people need this. We are getting questions about this constantly. To Will's point, rough consensus and running code. Damn straight. Um, I'm also going to point to a test bed that people can use to play with this that my buddy Claude and I created while I was recovering from a screwed up conference last week.
Which is also another real, something I think we really need. I just wanted to point out that to anyone that has any concern, the reason I think I personally believe this is like the opposite of ramming something through, is
Yeah.
that we have taken a long time, and really there's only one key evolutionary step that this new draft represents, and that is the breaking apart of what we had as a single thing, the assertion string or assertion statement, into to go to the park model into action and resource. And it was just such an obvious thing. I sort of, one by one, I give Andor credit for being the one that sort of brought it up because of the work he was doing on agent governance. And it just rippled through all of us. I mean, Daryl, when you first saw it, it was like, oh, okay. And I want to add one more thing. The session that you led, you and Andor at IAW, where we had Phil there, we'd already talked it over with him, but for him, it was just like so clear how this would now, be used. He could map everything they'd done in Cedar and the formal proofs and stuff. It just made it feel like, okay, yeah, we got all the justification we need.
Yeah, I just realized, I'm not sure if we talked about this on this particular call, that when that first came in, I mean, I didn't like any breaking changes. It was a breaking change, but it has simplified my world on the Iris side so much. What are you doing? What's the thing you're doing it to? That's really the business conversation we have, which is so much easier than what string do I put in? It's a really easy way to answer that. But when we first talked about it, I don't know if this came up in this group. I heard Park. I'm like, what the hell has Xerox Park got to do with anything? And then Drummond and Ed were on a call, a private, just a one-on-one call. And I was like, what are you talking about? Said, well, it's in Cedar. I'm like, what the hell has that got to do with anything on the planet? It's a tree. It is in use by Auth0, Amazon. It is in use by many, many policy engines around the world, just behind the scenes. It's one of those things that the thinking behind it really, really helps. Just so people know, it's in use in massive deployments. Absolutely, internet scale type of things.
Yeah, exactly. And even though it technically added, one more identifier, but the thing that amazed me, and when we did that, and the reason I volunteered to say, hey, here's what we need to rewrite is, I mean, Daryl, didn't we lost about 2 pages of explanation because things just got so much simpler.
It got easier. It was one of these changes that it created simplicity, which is hard to get to. It's really hard to get to.
Yeah.
And it takes those breakthrough moments. So kudos to Andor and that weird serendipity of alignment that I think you would run across it. Phil obviously is so deep into it that it was helpful.
Yeah.
And the timing of IAW. Other than I can recommend to people, and by the way, your comment privately that we may have lost some of your edits, that's probably due to the fact that I was doing the edits in GitHub and Google Doc on the floor of IAW with people talking.
Well, still, you did what I do as an editor, which is trim out stuff that wasn't needed. So I think that was fine. For anyone who didn't hear the story of that coincidence about that, I happened to be invited to give an in-person talk at an LFDT meeting here in Seattle on a Friday afternoon in the end of August. And I'm like, what, really? But I'm like, I want to be a supportive LFDT member, and they wanted me to come and speak about first person, and that's what I'm working on. So I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll come. Scott turned it down. He said, no, I'm too busy to go to,
No, that wasn't it. It was you had a lot to say, and you were looking for audiences to say it.
Yeah. And I'm kidding you. I know perfectly well, but your reaction was,
I knew you were only going to be saying it to 2 people, but that's okay.
Well, it happened to be 8 people in the room on a Friday afternoon, but one of those 8 people was one of the other speakers, and it was Amina. I can't remember her last name, but she's like the brain trust behind that Cedar architecture, and And so here we get a talk. It's like getting a talk on E equals MC squared from Einstein. You know, it was just, and there were like 6 others of us in the room, and 3 of them were from LFDT. So I was like, wow. And we got to ask her questions. And anyway, I just got this really, and she was so clear. She's such a good presenter that I was like, wow, that's really, really very compelling. But the penny didn't drop for me until literally the following week is when I went down and spent some time with Andor, and he brought it up and said, hey, I've been looking at this stuff in the, in the context of the agent, agent policies and agent governance. And what if we did this? And he showed me that page, and I said, oh, I've seen this before. And it just, anyway, that's for anyone else understanding why and how that came about.
Well, that sounds really, really valuable. So I think at minimum, you're going to buy me dinner. So there you go.
I see what you did there. Oh, wow. That guy's good.
Well played.
That's good. Yeah. All right. I think
That
we
was
got our
it for
March-
the agenda. We covered off all of them kind of interspersed. One was you providing your review. Second was the presentation next week, and third was the PR02 push. So
Yep.
So hopefully next Thursday we hopefully will have most of those edits in, and we can discuss. I'm just looking at my calendar, so I have travel coming up. I have an AGM. You and I have an AGM, Drummond, for IRA that we can't miss next week on the exact same time slot.
All right. I think that's
I
in
want to
my
make sure it's
calendar.
on your. Yeah.
But the Thursday, is the second day of the Trust ToIP Symposium.
Well, you may have to watch the recording at minimum because you are one of the voting members.
Uh,
But you and I can talk about that out of band.
oh, wait a minute. That's the second day of that. Yeah, I don't think the symposium starts until what time, Carly? Do you recall what time it starts on Thursday?
Give me a second, I'm looking it up.
All right. That'd be great. I just want to. So
Symposium day 2 starts at 7 a.m. Pacific time. That runs to 12:30 Pacific time.
And what's in that first slot in the symposium?
Gathering and informal introductions, recap of day sessions, and then at 7:30 to 8:30 is Incepting SETI in Utah.
Ah, got it. God darn. That's when the 7 to 8:30, 7 to 8:30 Pacific is the IRA meeting.
So it is. It's not a. You and I are the critical pieces of it because we are the members.
Yes.
But yeah, it's a procedural thing. But we do have to. We have to knock that out.
So, but what we're clearly not doing next week is this call.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I guess what we could do is not do that. We'll put an update into Discord on the push pull requests. Jeez. And plan for the following week, which is also our double header, meaning today we have APAC, next week we do not. Next week we have APAC as well to make sure that they understand. And I would suggest at that point we push the vote recommendation to the TSWG. We are in public review and we prepare the blog post to go out in that time period. Yeah.
Okay. So it's just, I'm trying to follow you. So we're saying no meeting next week. The meeting on the 27th is Thanksgiving, U.S. Thanksgiving. That's pretty funny. Although it doesn't necessarily, all my Thanksgiving stuff is later in the day, so I could still
actually say there's actually a lot of Americans on this one, a couple Canadians.
Yeah. So how many Americans are willing to come on the morning of Thanksgiving to give thanks for 2.0?
Well, it's also a consensus-driven organization, which means if you just, Discord, send a turkey emoji.
It's true. It's true. But in any case, you're saying at that point is when we could, and if we give folks notice, we could say, we're planning to make the following updates. You have time to review. We want, we can just do a call for consensus on that day on Discord, right? That's easy. And then we plan the blog post, which could go out the following week.
So let's you and I put that on our list to hammer off this week and share with the group.
All right. Cool. That sounds good. Excellent.
Awesome.
I'd be glad to get this out.
Yes. Yeah. And this is, for everyone who's been there since the beginning, kudos. It's been an interesting run, and it's kind of funny how many people are now talking about the absolute hard requirement for trust registries.
Yeah, exactly.
It's really been. Why do we need that? Well, don't worry, your road is leading there. You'll get there in your own time, is what we've learned, and there's a lot of people who have reached that point. So,
well,
Yeah.
another final item is, as Drummond knows, I am creating bite-sized trust vignettes,
cool.
and today I'm going to be doing one on trust registries.
Awesome.
Let me know when that's out. I'll see it on the channel. I'm sure too, but I'll definitely share that out amongst the Ira community too.
Yeah,
on our channels,
that'd be
because it's
super cool.
foundational to what we're doing.
It's in my mind, it's not a coincidence, although we wouldn't have said it would necessarily work out this way, that TSP is also honing in on 1.0. Yeah, it's a 1.0, not a 2.0, but it's also we did start this quite a bit earlier. But the combination, I think, is going to be particularly powerful. So good stuff. I'm going to go ping Hank right now. So
Cool.
take advantage of these 10 minutes before the next, we have an ecosystem and governance call next, right?
Yeah, it's our last one for prep for symposium, so it's a big one.
Yes.
Awesome.
All right. And in the meantime, the good news is Kevin has promised to implement all of this before the end of the year in his new lab. I think it's just fantastic. Thank you, Kevin.
My pleasure. Sign me up for anything you want.
Are you in a van?
I'm in a little Airstream. This is my little
Beautiful.
coffee shop. There's my coffee machine there.
Whoa, that's a
Beautiful.
serious coffee machine for an Airstream.
Yeah, one barista, one customer.
Awesome. And he's really picky.
Very picky.
I live in
That's
Vancouver.
great.
I had to, you folks would know Mathieu Glaude, little Mathieu, as I call him. He came over for an early morning visit, wanted to meet for coffee. I'm like, you're in Vancouver. Coffee shops don't even open until 8 a.m. So he came over to my place, and I have a coffee worship station. So awesome. Well, let's use that 10 minutes, Drummond, and
All right.
this is exciting, folks.
Very good.
I'm
Thanks,
very
everyone.
impressed. I'm
All
very
right.
impressed with what y'all have done. Kudos. Big kudos.
Thank you.
Super. Thanks.
Keep being
Bye-bye.
awesome, folks.
You bet.
Thank you. Thanks, y'all.